Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command World War II, World at War. It is June of 1945, and the situation in the world is grave. In the Pacific, the Allies have done pretty well. We've taken Iwo Jima, we've taken Okinawa, we've basically destroyed the Japanese fleet, we just destroyed the Shinano last turn, and that leaves the Japanese with just 4 naval vessels. I believe at least one of them is a submarine, although we sank a submarine this turn. And I believe one of them might be a carrier somewhere, and maybe one of them is a destroyer down here. But we have pushed to the boundaries of Japan. That being said, in China, things are, as I said, grave. China has basically fallen. There's a couple of Chinese isolated units in northern China holding out, but that won't be for long. Meanwhile, the Japanese are threatening an invasion of eastern Burma with forces moving out of China. The main thing that's delaying them there is poor supply situations. In Russia, things are more grave. Germany's taken Tehran and is driving south with really nothing preventing them from moving into sort of British southern Iran and maybe even Kuwait. They have also taken Moscow. They've taken, Moscow and, well, they haven't taken Sverdlovsk. We have a capital. We have Perm. Perm is our alternate capital at the moment, but they've taken Kuybyshev, which is another alternate capital, so we're one capital away from the Soviet Union basically crumbling, and it's frankly just a matter of time before the Soviet Union completely falls apart. Probably not this turn, I would guess, but in the very near future. Perhaps before the winter of 45 going into 46, but if not then certainly immediately thereafter. There's basically no forces on our northern front. They can move east through Gorky. Gorky will fall next turn, actually, and then they'll probably drive east to flank Perm. We might be able to hold out till September, but I doubt it. We did retake Archangel last turn, so that was helpful. Meanwhile, in Western Europe, an invasion of France failed. We did take Vichy. We drove as far as Paris, just on the outskirts of Paris, before we were thrown back. We've since evacuated the bulk of Europe. We have a few troops left in Gibraltar, American troops there to keep the straits open, and the Germans are driving into Portugal, about to eject us entirely from the continent, with the exception of a small American bridgehead which we have built in southern Italy that has basically no chance of advancing up the boot against the Germans there. We did move a core of American troops onto transports, and if they survive any German air attacks this turn, we'll probably land them in southern, or I guess in, is it Sardinia? Down there to take a supply depot from the Germans. We have ejected them from North Africa, but that may or may not last. We've pulled a lot of troops back to England, which we're trying to fortify to some extent. We also have a large amount of naval vessels in England, but the German fleet is rapidly building up and will surely sort of outpace us in the coming months, just given the fact that they're going to have a huge amount of income, and they're already building their navy up. We had basically destroyed their navy, but they now have 25 warships. A large number of them are sort of sitting up here near Norway, but I imagine a large number of enemy vessels will move south as soon as the Russians fall. They will launch a probably tidal wave of troops onto England that will likely take England. Our best hope is that we can land in Japan and knock Japan out of the war before Russia falls, or as Russia is falling, and then free up, these forces from Axis territory. Maybe launch an invasion of Russia from China, but I don't think that's likely. Japan has so many troops that even if we take all of Japan, it's likely they'll continue fighting, and we'll have to move into Asia to sort of mop up their troops from the rear, and that's unlikely to be successful. So I think we've lost. I think it's a matter of waiting, but we'll see. I mean, I could be wrong. We might be able to eke out like a minor defeat or a draw if we can hold England long enough, and if we can sort of distract the Germans with enough sort of alternate fronts where we're sort of poking at them and drawing forces away to prevent an invasion of England. I guess we'll see. With that being said, we've already done our turn for June, so we're going to go ahead and end the turn. We'll jump 2 weeks forward, and we'll see what the Axis have in store for us here. So the game is loading and processing events. You can see Axis raiders are disrupting convoys between the UK and USSR, between the USA and UK, between a lot of other places. The UK is developing amphibious warfare level 4, so that should be useful in the Pacific maybe. The USA is developing production technology level 5, so that should be good, I think, for our economy, but yeah, I'm pretty sure for our economy. So that might help even the odds a little bit, give the U.S. a little bit more industrial income, although I think Germany's probably already developed level 5 as well, and all of Europe at their feet will probably negate any benefits there. All right, Gorky just fell. Meanwhile, the Germans are advancing toward Orsk, trying to flank Magnatorsk and the Russian forces in that area. German destroyers are engaging our own destroyers in the channel by the looks of it. And we did intercept some German destroyers just off the coast of England here. Meanwhile, actually, these are Canadian destroyers that they're engaging here. German heavy cruisers are moving off the coast of England. That's a problem, actually. Oh, God. If German battleships are operating in the channel with us, we're in some serious trouble. Meanwhile, we detected another Japanese submarine there off the coast of Okinawa. German subs just destroyed a destroyer. That's great. They're wiping out destroyers of ours. So we lost, what, 2 destroyers there? 1 destroyer off the coast of England there? That is not a good sign. If the German Navy is feeling bold enough to operate with heavy warships in the channel, we're in trouble. And we really are, because we don't have enough air power in England to really prevent that. It really comes down to our naval forces, which are strong, but probably not strong enough. We have quite a few naval forces, but I think they may actually have more than us in the area. I think I have more capital ships, more carriers, but their land-based air is going to negate a lot of that. So we'll see how things play out. Meanwhile, we just detected another Japanese destroyer off of the northern, I guess it's not really North New Guinea, but it is a little bit north of New Guinea. German tactical bombers are hitting us there. Japanese tactical bombers are hitting us in Burma. We're seeing quite a bit of air power being deployed this turn. We just lost an air unit in Burma to Japanese tactical air. We're probably about to lose another air unit there in Burma to Japanese tactical air. The ability of the enemy air forces to basically just wipe out our ground units at will as their tactical air gets better and better and better against ground targets is going to be absolutely devastating, and is what will probably cause the complete collapse of the Soviet front, maybe even before the fall, before the mud sets in. Lisbon just fell there, so Portugal is now in German control. You can see here German mechanized counterattacks against our cavalry in the Russian front. You can see German troops moving against our forces in Spain. A German army just moved east there in the Soviet Union. There goes one of our few remaining air assets near our capital in the Soviet Union. Oh, great. There's looks like Hungarian troops are operating in Iran now as well. I don't even know what to say here. They're attacking our cavalry to the east of Cheblinsk with their own cavalry. Their heavy armor there just nearly wiped out some paratroopers of ours, and just wiped out cavalry of ours there and paratroopers of ours there to the east of Sverdlovsk. So that's wonderful. There was a rising in Yugoslavia, which the Germans put down as well. So they're 1 territory from Sverdlovsk. Portugal is all of theirs now. We'll have to see how things play out here. They're moving south of Kirov, west of sort of our main line in Russia, such as it exists. The problem in Russia is twofold. One, the morale of our troops is so low that they basically crumple upon any enemy attack. Sometimes that gets reversed a little bit in the winter when we get weather on our side, but generally speaking, the Germans are so advanced that they just crush us. Also, they've got level 4 and level 5 tanks, which make regular infantry in open plain terrain. It's very difficult for them to stand up to that kind of attack. National morale falls with the loss of Gorky. Portugal surrenders, so Germany gets an economic boost from that, which is, just what we needed. All right, so at least we destroyed the docks in Portugal before we retreated. British subs are disrupting Japanese convoys. Calculating supply. All right, that's a lot of stuff that happened. The Ottawa destroyer was sunk. The Annapolis was sunk, so 2 Canadian destroyers sunk. 3rd Australian Corps destroyed. 1st Panama Garrison destroyed. 2nd Soviet Corps destroyed. 1st South African Corps destroyed. 184th Medium Bombers of the Soviet Union destroyed. Desert Field Artillery destroyed. The 1st Cavalry Corps and 4th Paratroopers are all destroyed. Okay. So we'll have to see if there's anything we can do about these German forces in the channel. That's a problem if we just accept German naval forces in the channel, but I'm not sure that there's a ton I can do about it. Okay, a whole bunch of, we did get better intelligence, so we're getting a whole bunch of reports of enemy units, but it's not super useful in the sense that, like, a lot of it's in areas I can't do anything with. All right, so China's getting a new army. The Soviets are getting 2 corps, and the U.S. is getting a fighter unit this turn. So before we do that, what can we do with these ships in the channel? All right, so I can have my bombers. Let's see here. These bombers can go after this German heavy cruiser here in the channel. It's estimating 2 to 2. We do have American level 4 fighters escorting, so we'll do that. You can see the Germans have their level 5 fighters attacking us. They've got jets. So we did a little bit of damage there. We did take a fair bit of damage. Also, there's a German battle cruiser in the channel as well. We've got more tactical bombers up here. It says 3 to 2. The one positive here might be I can use up my sort of mediocre tactical bombers against the enemy fighters, and maybe I can attack with our carrier aircraft and have better success. Maybe we'll use up all their fighters. Jesus, all my carriers are up here just completely exhausted. What's their mode set to? Naval tactical. So let's bring these guys south. We'll attack this cruiser. There was no enemy fighter cover, so that's good news for us. Move one further hex south, and we'll attack this battle cruiser. So this could be a very good turn for us here with our carriers. So we just knocked that guy out. We'll move this carrier south against this battle cruiser. There's probably more carriers or more land-based air close to the channel, or like in France, that might hinder our attacks here. I thought I had a merchant marine aircraft down there, but apparently not. All right, so that's all the strikes from our... Okay, 2 to 1, so I just finish off the enemy battle cruiser there with my American heavy cruiser. I'll pull him back. So we destroyed a German... Was it... No, we didn't destroy the destroyer. The destroyer's right here. But I'll swing my battleship south to engage the destroyer. They do a little bit of damage there. This guy has 2 strikes, this carrier, so we'll move it south. It also has a 10 air wing. So we'll try and knock out this enemy destroyer. They're doing a surprising amount of damage to our air wing with their destroyers. All right, so we destroy that German destroyer. Oh, come on! We didn't destroy that destroyer. Okay. Oh, shit, it retreated into a port. I didn't see that. All right. Do I have any air units that can finish it off? Doesn't look like it. My carriers over here need a little bit of a break. Let's move our battleship out of Port Smith and hit his destroyers. We'll do the same for our heavy cruiser. Oh, shit. Heavy cruisers off of Cherbourg. Can they retreat at all? They can. They can get back to port. That's good. Okay. Can this battleship make it back to port there? No. Huh. Oh, fuck. Well, I'm going to lose a battleship here trying to move it through the fucking channel, trying to save this heavy cruiser and get it out of there. Shit. Pull back there. I mean, I need to replace these guys' air wings. That's going to be expensive as fuck, but it's unfortunate that I hadn't done that the turn before. I could have done way more damage, but we're going to lose a battleship. Fortunately, they lost a battleship as well, but you know, it's the attrition game against the superior points that they have is not a winning game. Okay, we'll pull these guys down to that port. We'll reinforce these guys up at the northern port because they can do a little bit of reinforcing up there. Reinforce these fighters. I'll move this Canadian destroyer here. I'm hoping we can do a little bit of damage to the enemy. I was hoping we could do a little bit of damage to their destroyer. And that maybe that would prevent them from going after my battleship there. All right, we'll reinforce this this battleship. This light cruiser south, I think. Should be able to replenish in this port further south. I'll try and go after this sub with my destroyer. Actually, that's good. So now I can move my American destroyer in here. Shit. So the hope was to shield this battleship from enemy attack, and we've done that in the sense that they can only hit us in one hex here, but now they've got 2 destroyers here and a heavy cruiser all on the channel. Do we have any air units we can operate over there? Doesn't look like it. What about this air unit in Reykjavik? Can it operate out of there? No, it has to stay there. Well, fuck. That's not good. All right, well, at least we got these 2 carriers repaired. We can... A couple of carrier wings up here. We might be able to damage them a little bit. What were they at 25 last turn? They're down to 23, so we did sink 2 of their ships. But we're probably going to lose a destroyer, maybe 2 destroyers on a battle. I mean, I don't know. A lot depends on what they do. But we might lose 2 destroyers on a battleship in their counterattack. Did I move some ships up to... Where did I put my transports? I mean, I could send my armored up here to the med. That might be the safer place to put them. Meanwhile, we're going to land these guys in here to take this supply city. So we already took Corsica. We've now taken Sardinia. So that's good news. Can we repair these tanks? No? Okay, I really want to get... Ugh. They've got jets here? How are these guys? Their supply is pretty bad. What's the supply situation look like? It's going to be 5, 4, 3. Move these guys forward a little bit. It might be a little bit better. 5, 5. Okay, so it'll be 6 there next turn. I guess we'll move this. I hate the idea of moving my somewhat damaged tanks forward here, but I think it's my only option. I can't build a front here, so I'm assuming they're going to attack this lead infantry unit pretty harshly next turn. We'll see. Meanwhile, we're going to move this first Portuguese garrison into Cadiz. It'll probably die immediately, but it may protect the 1st American Corps there from being overwhelmed right away. The 2nd American Armored Heavy. Can I sneak it into English ports? Or to Irish ports? Alright, we'll get this guy into Cork. It should be relatively safe there, given it's in port. And then I'll swing it into the home isles tomorrow. And throw these guys on transport. The 11th U.S. Army. Move them to Port Delgada, and then we'll move them to the Mediterranean, I think, tomorrow to support the advance there. And then the new American fighter unit will go here in D.C. Do we have anything on the West Coast that I've put in? No. Or we do have bombers at Midway, but... Alright, these guys have 1 strike, 1 strike, 1 strike, 1 strike. Okay, good. So all of the troops I put on transports yesterday appear to have 1 strike, which means they can land, they can attack and then land in the same turn. Meanwhile, our British, or our Australian troops have invaded southern China in a war of liberation. Not sure the Indian Corps can get there. Shit! They're gonna get sunk! Japanese destroyers near Hong Kong. Okay. Meanwhile, what is this? Another Indian Corps. So I'm hoping to launch an invasion of southern China that may distract the Japanese from their invasion of Burma, is the hope. See, they've just absolutely obliterated some of the lead formations in our defense there. Our paratroopers are ready to fly, but they're currently in bad weather, so they can't attack. Okay. We do have anti-aircraft guns near Lido. We've also got some fighters in that general direction, but again, bad weather's preventing their moving. Are all these guys Indian units? New Zealand? There's one New Zealand unit. The rest are all Indian. So this British headquarters unit's going to be largely wasted. Let's swing it over to Singapore, and maybe we can get it into a place where we have actual British troops. Alright, let's throw these guys on amphibious transports. So I've taken a couple of isolated bases in the Pacific here from the Japanese to try and cut into their income a little bit. Does mean that a lot of our Commonwealth cities are unoccupied. So, I mean, I guess this is the question of what do you do? Do you... I'm really disappointed that we can't do long-range transports yet, despite having transport technology level 4. So what do you do at this point when you're the allies here? I'm going to launch a very limited Commonwealth landing along the Chinese coast to try and distract the Japanese a little bit. But do we go for a landing in Japan, or do we wait in our transports and tempt fate? Like, these guys can make it there. They can land from back here. I'm out of long-range amphibious transports. These guys are prepared, so they can even land in mainland proper. But I think the Japanese get a bunch of free units once I do. Also, there's no realistic... I can't land anywhere that's adjacent to Tokyo that has a port that'll allow me to supply myself. I suppose I could try and take Nagasaki, which would be a supply center. What happens if we... So, we could do this. Let's scout ahead with our sub. So our sub doesn't detect any Japanese troops in Nagasaki. Now, that's not true. For sure, that's not true. So let's move one of our heavy cruisers up this way. All right, so there's an army in Nagasaki. It doesn't look like there's anyone north of Nagasaki. What about in Hiroshima? There's an army in Hiroshima. Now, Nagasaki is a level 10 port, so we could supply ourselves from there. There's also nothing behind Hiroshima. Now, my paratroopers can't fly as far as Hiroshima. All right, let's pull these guys back. So this says 0 out of 0? Really? Okay. Shit. I can't land those guys. The headquarters will do 3 damage? Really? Okay. I don't really want to land a headquarters unit there, though. So my paratroopers can land. Kind of tempted if I... So I'll be able to... Okay, let's do this. I mean, I'm taking some pretty big risks here. Second Ranger Special Forces. I'm hoping they'll be able to move. Nice! Okay, so we took Nagasaki. So Nagasaki has fallen. We even got a headquarters unit into Nagasaki. It's an industrial center. So the supply situation in Japan next turn is going to be pretty good for our troops ashore. There's also a Japanese light cruiser that's going to be stuck in port there. Can any of these guys get around the flank? They can't. But I'm kind of wondering if we can't land behind them at Hiroshima tomorrow with what's left of my forces there. So let's do this. Let's move our mechanized transport into... Can we do this? Can we operate these fighters into newly taken terrain? We can move them into Okinawa. We can move our fighters into Naha so they can provide some fighter cover. I can then also move my bombers in there as well into... I'm not sure what the supply situation is going to be for these guys. Not very good. Do I have another headquarters unit around here? I don't. So let's do this. Let's move these guys here. We're going to move the 2nd U.S. tanks here. Move our fighters. I'm trying to get my units in range so that we can flank Hiroshima tomorrow. So then I can move up and around them to try and get behind. Now, they're probably going to cram units in here. The alternative, though, there might be a landing that opens up in northern Japan as well. Maybe even somewhere like Hakodate, or however you pronounce that, on the northern islands. But we have taken Nagasaki. Let's also use this escort carrier's wing that's been pretty badly shot up. But let's use some of our escorts against the Japanese subs in the area, because the escort carriers are much better against submarines than any of my other air assets. Okay. I need better headquarters situations in the front lines for my troops, or for my bombers to operate effectively. I needed to invest way more in headquarters units. All right, so we destroyed a big percentage of their submarines there. Do we have any destroyers around here? Looks like all my destroyers got destroyed. Hardy har. Move these carriers up here to provide some air cover. We'll also bomb these ships in port. I don't think they have much in the way of carrier aviation. Well, next to no carrier aviation. I don't think they have much in the way of land-based aviation. I want to make sure their cruiser doesn't escape. I know I'm taking a little bit in the way of casualties on my carrier air wings, but... Alright, that destroys one more, so they have 3 naval assets left. Another subtle dive. Okay, these guys all fought twice. Yeah, now it's to the futility stage of ASW work. Apparently my heavy cruisers have decent ASW. Some of them anyway. Alright. I think I can interdict some of Japan's economy if I put my cruisers off their coast. And I should have long enough range aircraft to cover those guys. I could land these guys here. They do suffer some casualties landing. What's the supply situation going to look like next turn? 3 here, so we'll probably want to move them back slightly. Although, I could use the Third Army as a sacrificial lamb to try and keep the front line a little bit more clear. If I move them up like there, then they may draw in Japanese attackers here, which would then let my troops in the south have a little bit of an easier time. So I think that's what we're going to do. We'll speed our British carrier west. Just replenished at Pearl. Papua New Guinea garrison. Bring up toward Okinawa. Or sorry, Iwo Jima. These troops in Guam. You know what I'll do is move this garrison in there just to make sure they don't fall. We'll move the first mechanized up to Iwo Jima. Then they'll be able to land along the coast somewhere along here. I just want to finish these fuckers off. I mean, in theory, we could use these American troops if the invasion in Japan gets totally bottled up to land along the Chinese coast to try and cut the Japanese economy out from underneath them. But we took Nagasaki without any nuking of anything. Someone had mentioned that there will be like a nuclear event where the Japanese home island forces will get dramatically weakened. I hope, even though we've invaded Japan, that will still happen. I'm not sure the rules on that, but it would be great if it happened this turn as before the Japanese can counterattack. In any event, the invasion of Japan has begun. The hopes of liberty-loving people everywhere. Follow our invasion with bated breath. Okay. I mean, these battleships could try and bombard the Japanese. I'd be worried that they're going to hurt the supply situation of our troops more than anything. So like you can see there, we did a little bit of damage. They're also not super strong, so again, the Japanese could, if they have a bunch of like kamikazes in China or something, they could do some damage to us. We should be in range of air cover to protect us. Also, so am I hurting their entrenchments? No. Not really hurting their supply either by the looks of it. Their supply situation's still 12. They've got anti-tank guns? That's great. Okay, so you can see, I think what we're doing is we're damaging the supply of the base itself, not of the unit. So but the problem is, by damaging Hiroshima, we're going to damage the city that we're going to take, you know, hopefully that we're going to take ourselves. Okay. Now, the question is, like, if I want to throw troops on transports, if I can take more Japanese ports, I can throw troops on transports and rush my troops forward. That's probably not going to happen. In terms of, like, take more ports. So for the moment, I'm going to kind of hold these guys back and see whether I want to move them to China or whether I want to keep them moving into Japan to support the invasion there. We'll see what this does to Japan, though. I'm not sure. In any event, we've at least gained a lodgment in southern Japan. With well more... I don't even know what they're... They do have 13 air units in... But I think they're all in China. I hope they're all in China. Okay... So we'll see. You know, they obviously have some open areas along their coast. Do I only have the one headquarters unit? I thought I had another headquarters unit. That might be a problem if I'm invading Japan with one American headquarter. Move them to Reykjavik. Alright, China did draw one new unit, so we'll place its new unit here. I really need like a new Chinese headquarters unit. I don't think China can afford a new headquarters unit if we were to purchase one. HQ, it needs 205. It has 121. We could save our money this turn and use it next turn. It's probably a better use of Chinese money. I think we'll do the same thing with the Indian money. Meanwhile, the Soviets... I mean, I put a bit of money into research last turn for the Soviets. We should probably put it just all into new units. Well, I haven't even really used my Soviet troops yet, so let's wait on that, because we still have to do that. Alright, I think that's the Pacific Theater this turn. The problem is with the naval bombardments from the shore aren't really going to do a whole lot. We'll see what their air power does. It'll be interesting if they operate a bunch of air units back to Japan out of China. That could basically cause their advance in China to grind to a halt, but I guess we'll see. All right, so that does it for the Americans in Asia. Let's check out China. So we did manage to surround one German army here, the 19th Army. Its supplies are in terrible shape. So we can actually attack it with this shock army here, do 3-1. This first corps here, 2-0, I guess 2-1. And then Perm is a headquarters unit, right? God, our artillery does jack shit. The Katyusha rockets are doing nothing. We'll keep one shell for self-defense. Alright. 6-0. Jesus Christ. I moved this way just to try and cut these two German units off. Can I place a new unit in Maglatowsk? I can. So I'll put one of the new core units here. Move this guy south. along the rail line here to hold this line against these German troops, which are now surrounded. Reinforce here. I'm going to operate this armored unit, I guess, toward here. I would attack here, but a 2-2 is just not good enough for me. Their morale is at least shot by getting hit. Well, I guess a lot of the German... Interesting, the German morale in Russia, a lot of it anyway, isn't in great shape. Move the shock army here to finish off these guys. And then we'll move it into Perm, where it'll start digging in, because that is our capital. Reinforce these troops. I'll move these guys to the west of Kirov. I should have moved them into Kirov itself. Whoops. I mean, I gotta pray that the summer ends early in 43. Okay, new unit here. Place in Sverdlovsk. Meanwhile, with our Russian money, we'll go ahead and buy a whole bunch of new units. Interestingly enough, I don't have a lot of units that have been destroyed. You get a discount if you buy a unit that's been destroyed and you buy it again. So we had one Special Forces unit we could do that with. We have some engineers, but they're not really worth a whole lot. We can do it with some shock armies. They seem to actually have decent attack values right now. So we can do it with one of our shock armies. So we've got an army and a shock army coming in August. That's probably still... Well, this one may come next turn, but the shock army will come 2 turns from now. I mean, level 2 fighters are just going to get chewed up as much as I would like to. It doesn't really matter. I don't have the money right now. We could raise a corps, but it would be not upgraded. So I guess we'll just keep that Soviet money till next turn. Meanwhile, the U.S... What do we have coming? Do we have a headquarters? We've got a bunch of air units coming. And some tanks. We'll do a headquarters unit, because I badly need it. I mean, I'd really like some tactical bombers, but I don't have the money for it right now, so we'll hold off on that. All right, this stuff's all maxed out. Down here on the right side, advanced fighters is already almost there with its investment. Anti-tank weapons don't really matter for the stuff we have. Advanced tanks are already level 5. Submarine warfare is level 3. We're almost to level 4. Anti-air is level 4, almost to level 5. Any of our armored units here need to be upgraded. The British can upgrade their tanks. Long-range aircraft for my paratroopers, but they're probably not going to be landing in Germany anytime soon. The army can upgrade. Mobility, but I don't think that's worth it in England. It's probably not. I mean, I need to maybe save the money to reinforce our damaged ships next turn. I guess that's a good idea. Probably the same for the British. The British actually could use some upgrades, I think. No, maybe not. But they are going to need to reinforce their damaged ships. So we'll hold on to the British money for now. And we'll just hang on to that money. Bombard those German not destroyers, those German tanks with our battleships from the sea. British subs should really... I mean, I should probably... Here's the other thing is, as soon as I can, I need to start pulling all these naval assets back to England to try and help defend against an invasion there. But for the moment, they're needed to support the invasion of Japan. We have successfully gained a lodgment in Japan, though, so we'll see what comes of that. In any event, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. Hope you have enjoyed. We invaded Japan, so we did that. We'll see what happens next time. It's a little bit of a longer episode, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts down below, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.